I feel like the tide is changing in more ways than one. So obviously, yes, we've seen what the critics was the 96% critics rating for The Acolyte. It's clearly suspicious. But I do think there is a change happening in some circles, in some parts of the media. So I read this article. This came out actually a few days after The Acolyte first premiered. So if you're not familiar, Jenny Nicholson is a YouTuber, and she made this like 4-hour documentary of her experience at the failed Star Wars hotel. I do recommend it. It's actually pretty entertaining, and she's very well researched, and her experience is very well documented. So this was the title of it. The New York Times did a review of this, and the Star Wars hotel, the failure of it, speaks to a larger theme going on with Lucasfilm and its fans. And I'm surprised that this was even written. That a mainstream media outlet did an article criticizing Disney Lucasfilm, and speaking in a positive light, a YouTuber. So a 4-hour-long hotel review that is actually about so much more. Jenny Nicholson's granular critique of Disney's Galactic Star Cruiser experience reflects the fraught relationship between studios and fans right now. So this spoke to this environment that we're in with Disney, and particularly Lucasfilm, and their treatment of Star Wars and its fans. So I thought it was a really good read. It is entertaining. I watched the review before I read this. She's got like millions of views on it, by the way. So the Star Wars Hotel, I just want to preface this discussion by saying that is one of the worst concepts that Lucasfilm and Disney have done. You have this Star Wars themed LARPing session that is $6,000 for a 2-night stay. That is ridiculous. And in this hotel, none of it included anything that we recognize from the original and prequel era Star Wars. It was an entirely new thing. This is all new canon. It exists somewhere between, they put it in a timeline between The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, which I think is ridiculous to limit yourself for a hotel to have it exist in that tiny little time frame. That's what takes place with Galaxy Quest, the actual theme park. Galaxy Quest? Not Galaxy Quest. What is the Star Wars theme park called? Galaxy Quest is the movie. That's not it. Anyways, their Star Wars theme park exists in the timeline, again, between the two movies, The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, which is so stupid. So there's nothing and no characters that you'll see from the OT or prequel trilogy. Galaxy's Edge, thank you. Does any other IP that has a theme park attached do that? You have this thing. You have a thing that actually looks like Tatooine. Tatooine has even been in the sequel trilogy as well. Why aren't you going to have Tatooine? Have things that people and fans actually recognize. There is no other IP with a theme park attached to it that does this. You go to Harry Potter Land and Universal, and what are you going to see? You're going to see the things from the films. You're going to get to go to the Leaky Cauldron, and you're going to get a butterbeer. You're going to see things and have experiences that remind you of the movies. I just don't understand. That just seems so like a no-brainer decision. So they're not only failing from this creative standpoint, failing in terms of honoring George Lucas's legacy, they are making like the most idiotic business decisions from a business standpoint. That is just so bizarre to me. Because this is what the fans want to do. In a theme park like that, you want to be immersed into the thing that you saw in the movies. It's so strange. Lucasfilm is the only one that does this. So if you go there, you're not going to see Luke, you're not going to see Padme, you're not going to see Darth Vader, you're going to see Kylo Ren and Rey stalking around. And so the Star Wars Hotel was an extension of that. Eventually you're going to see Kylo and Rey like duke it out or something. It was advertised as this glorified LARPing session, and honestly I thought it was a terrible idea anyways, because people were just freshly coming off of COVID and the lockdowns, and you want to have them, you're advertising a hotel where you're just locked indoors for 2 days, and to pay you $6,000 for the privilege? Do they listen to themselves when they're listing off ideas? Everything about this just sounded like a horrible idea. So what Jenny Nicholson's experience, she genuinely wanted to have a good time. She was putting in the work. She created like a character of her own to like role play as. She was so into it. She genuinely wanted to get the most out of this experience. The whole video is her just documenting like every part of it, them getting there, and certain aspects of her experience that she just broke down and really great detail. And none of it worked. None of it worked. You're basically like answering emails from these characters that you intend to have, hopefully, interactions with, have like these role-playing interactions with. You're trying to do missions or something. When you're at the hotel, I think she was trying to get Chewbacca was there, and I think there was a mission that you can help him escape, but she tried to do it, but the notification she got was late or something, and by the time she got there, he was already out. It's just every time she tried to get this to work, everything just went wrong. And again, you're paying $6,000, more than that. That's just for the hotel experience. I mean, obviously you're going to pay more if you go patron any of the stuff at Galaxy's Edge. And if you're traveling out of town, you also have travel expenses just to get there. The writer says, what also struck me about the video was how Nicholson's criticisms held true in other mediums. Too frequently, corporations like Disney are asking audiences to accept whatever they are given, no matter the quality. A critic might roll her eyes at the non-stop influx of projects based on pre-existing intellectual property, and often I do. But there's a reason studios keep going to that well. Fans. You can dismiss fandom as being blind to quality, but Nicholson proves that's not actually true. Putting out a lesser, cheaper product can mean taking advantage of what is often genuine love. Yeah, that's the thing too. Like, she genuinely wanted to have fun. She was a fan, and she wanted to have an immersive Star Wars experience that they promised, that they advertised at, and were demanding $6,000 in return to provide it. And none of it worked. She got sat behind a pole in one of the performances, in one of the cantinas. Sat behind a pole, and you're paying $6,000. So Nicholson argues that instead of making the Star Cruiser the unique experience Disney promised, the company cut corners, betraying those who paid exorbitantly for what they assumed would be transportive. She also highlights how when Disney decided to shut down the Star Cruiser in September 2023, the enthusiastic cast members were the ones who probably paid the heaviest personal price. They didn't know how to do a LARPing session. They didn't know how that would work. And it seemed like they barely put in the work to get the technology that they were going to need to be executed correctly. You're having to be on your phone too for all of this if you want to participate actively in the role playing. You're having to answer emails basically and text messages, and you're having to do stuff too to try and have this somewhat interaction. Because it said that you can create your own Star Wars story. You can be a part of your own Star Wars story and live it out. That's what they advertised for this experience. And none of that worked. And she genuinely really tried. So that's why I recommend watching the documentary, because it is so insane. The lengths that she went to try to get this to work, and none of it worked. So I'll just read the ending, which kind of wraps it up. Basically, my thoughts about it too. Nicholson is so compelling because her righteous indignation is less about her personal financial loss and more about how devotees like her have been taken advantage of simply because they want to escape into a magical world. That sentence alone speaks so true to the heart of the matter. And yeah, you can call us devotees or fans. We've been taken advantage of. And again, we're being asked to accept blindly whatever Disney is pumping out, with no criticisms, no legit criticisms apparently, because if you do, you'll be just dismissed as a racist or a bigot. So just shut up and consume, basically, is how fans have been treated. And we just want an entertaining, immersive Star Wars experience. Why is that such a horrible thing? You wanted this fan base, you wanted this famous IP, you're just gonna treat the fans this way? That's the state of Disney Lucasfilm. We're being taken advantage of. And not just fans too, but just general audiences. You deserve better. And it continues, call that desire silly, but that's what Disney promises time and time again, whether that be in theme parks or on screen. Fans like Nicholson take their passion for this material seriously. What she wants is that care to be reciprocated. The great irony is that Nicholson herself produced what Disney couldn't, a comprehensive, entrancing experience that held my attention. I love that ending to this article because it's so true. And this is what I was saying earlier, that while this is kind of depressing, the state of Star Wars today, the fans are out there doing their best to give the rest of us what we want, this entertaining and transitive Star Wars experience. So you have like skits that are going on that are really funny, like Star Wars Theory, but you have content creators out there that are making fan fiction, or not even fan fiction, it's fan made, but they're adapting Heir to the Empire. I saw an anime the other day that looked so good, and it's adapting the novel Heir to the Empire, and I was so happy to see scenes from that book play out in this awesome way. And content creators like Nicholson and fans are giving what Disney can't or won't, really. So no, we're not taking this anymore. And this is in the New York Times, mainstream media outlet, that is calling this out. And this was speaking about Disney Lucasfilm as a whole, as this relationship between them and the fans. So it wasn't just limited to the hotel, but it does speak to the relationship that they have.